Before people start getting sensitive and before YouTube starts getting sensitive, hopefully they actually listen to this intro. In no way, shape, or form is this article being used to demonize, condemn, or to go after one specific group. I'm simply just reading the news. So if anybody wants to be sensitive, y'all better be sensitive with mainstream media first. Anyone can get or spread monkeypox, but a notable fraction of cases in the latest global outbreak are happening amongst gay and bisexual men. Quote, some groups have a higher or greater chance of exposure right now, but by no means is the current risk of exposure to monkeypox exclusively to gay and bisexual community. And that was stated by Dr. John Brooks, who is the chief medical officer for the CDC's Division of HIV and AIDS Prevention. Anyone can develop and spread monkeypox infection, but many of those affected in the current global outbreak identify as gay and bisexual men. There is one confirmed case of monkeypox and four suspected cases in the United States. The confirmed case is in a man in Massachusetts, and the other four cases of orthopox are in men from Florida, New York, and Utah. Orthopox refers to the pox virus in general. Quote, it is likely that there are going to be additional cases reported in the United States. Brooks also stated that the CDC decided to hold a news conference about the outbreak now because the LGBTQ Pride Month usually kicks off around Memorial Weekend, and officials wanted to make sure that the community was aware of the situation. He also urged doctors to be on the lookout for the disease because it can look like other types of STDs. Quote, in some cases during the early stages of the illness, the rash has been mostly in the genital and the perineal area. In some cases, it has produced anal or genital lesions that look like other diseases like herpes or chickenpox or syphilis. Quote, what we're trying to do is bring attention to the fact that some of these cases have had a genital and perianal presentation. It is just to remind people that people may come in for evaluation of what they think is an STD, but we like the provider to think, could it be monkeypox as well? In the circumstances fits the story. Monkeypox is extremely rare viral disease that is similar to smallpox, but it is considered clinically less severe. Cases usually happen in West and Central Africa, but several people have been diagnosed with monkeypox recently in areas that don't typically see the disease, including Canada, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom and the United States. Monkeypox is not a sexually transmitted disease, but it can spread through intimate contact during sex when someone has an active rash. It can also spread through large respiratory droplets, but because large droplets don't travel far enough in the air, the contact has to be prolonged enough for this to happen. Monkeypox can spread through direct contact with bodily fluids or through contact with contaminated clothes or bed sheets. Quote, anyone can spread monkeypox from contact with body fluid or monkeypox sores or respiratory droplets when close to someone. The virus typically incubates for about 14 days before symptoms appear. Initial symptoms include swollen lymph nodes, headache, fever, muscle aches, and fatigue. The disease then progresses into a rash and then lesions that blister and scab over. This can happen all over the body. The illness usually lasts for about 2 to 4 weeks. A person can be contagious from 1 day before the rash appears up until 21 days after symptoms began. Once the scabs fall off, the person is no longer contagious. The risk to the general public from the outbreak is low, according to the CDC. Quote, I don't think that there's a great risk of the general community from monkeypox right now in the United States. I think that we need to pay close attention to the communities in which this might be circulating so that we can communicate effectively enough with them and help bring this outbreak under control. Monkeypox doesn't seem to be spreading so quickly that parties and events need to be canceled or stopped. Quote, this is not the pandemic. Respiratory spread is not the predominant worry. It is contact and intimate contact in the current outbreak settings in the population. And that's really what we want to emphasize. It's also important that this outbreak not cause a stigma towards the LGBTQ community, according to the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS. It warns that some reporting and commentary on monkeypox has used language and imagery that reinforces stereotypes and exacerbates stigma. Quote, experiences show that stigmatizing rhetoric can quickly disable evidence based response by stoking cycles of fear, driving people away from health services, impeding efforts to identify cases, and encouraging ineffective punitive measures. We appreciate the LGBTI community for having led the way on raising awareness, and we reiterate that this disease can affect anyone. The WHO has cautioned people not to use the disease as a way to negatively label any particular community. Quote, there is a lot of stigma and discrimination that surrounds many diseases, and I think that the key that we need to look out for is, as WHO, to work with our partners in the community and elsewhere to make sure that the message is correct. So while we are seeing some cases amongst men who have sex with other men, this is not a gay disease. There is no proven safe treatment for monkeypox, but a vaccine made by a Danish company called Bavarian Nordic has been approved by the US Food and Drug Administration. The United States has signed a new contract with the company and placed $119 million order with the option to pay $180 million more if necessary. Because the monkeypox virus is closely related to smallpox virus, the smallpox vaccine can protect against monkeypox according to the CDC. The Strategic National Stockpile has enough smallpox vaccines to protect everyone in the United States. The United States is in the process of responding to a request for the release of the Bavarian Nordic monkeypox vaccine from the stockpile. The CDC recommends that anyone with a new or unexplained rash get it checked by medical professionals. People who are infected should stay isolated at home, away from people and pets, should wear a surgical mask, and should cover the lesions as much as possible until they have healed. They should avoid close contact with children, people who are pregnant, and those who have weakened immune systems because these groups of people are at a higher risk of complications if they catch the virus. Like I said, for those out there that might get offended, hopefully they're looking at this as the fact that, the government is in a sense caring, because we all seen what happened, and we know the history of what took place in the 80s and how a lot of people said that the government and everybody else didn't care. So this is something that is getting highlighted, and that they're stating that it is more prevalent, amongst a certain people or a certain community. So they are doing their best right now to be at the forefront, to be ahead of this, so that people aren't caught off guard and so that they are not aware. So hopefully people will look at this logically instead of looking at it emotionally and trying to view it as some type of attack or anything like that. Because all I'm looking at it is in a sense what they're telling them is like, yo, this is what it is, this is what it looks like, this is what it could potentially mimic, and just be aware of it. Don't be risky out here. And like they said before, they were letting people know before a large celebration was going to take place, because normally at celebrations, different stuff like that, people will decide to hook up and do a variety of other things, and it can lead to a lot of other things. And we all know that when it comes to people deciding to go out in public and hook up, what nobody's talking about STD test or STI test, or or they're not discussing which of their partners has had X, Y, and Z and all this other. No, nobody's having that discussion. People are just out there just doing stuff unprotected, and then they end up having that moment where it's like a deer caught in headlights, and people are like, what is this? How did I get this? Well, you got this because you were out here being reckless with your body, and because other people are being out here reckless with their bodies, and nobody knows right their status. That's the one thing that I used to love about, what is it, the 90s and the early 2000s. They used to always push that commercial of telling people like, yo, know your status, go out here and get tested. You don't hear that no more. So this is yet again another reason why you have so many people running out here being reckless and all these other types of things, because if they're not being warned about it, if they're not being reminded, in their mind they're thinking like, oh well, the rates are obviously low, so the chances of me catching anything is more than likely low, da 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 da, right? So that's all I'm saying. Just look at it from that perspective. Don't get emotional about it, and just be happy that you got some people that are caring enough to make you aware, of what's going on before you just happen to, act irrationally, right? But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I listed in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.